Operation Barbarossa is tearing through Soviet territory in the east. In the west, the Luftwaffe bombs London with impunity. And just hours ago, Adolf Hitler declared war on the United States following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Inside the Führer's headquarters, deep within the Reich Chancellery, there is an atmosphere of intoxicating euphoria. Hitler stands beside a massive map of the world spread across a heavy oak table. Hermann Göring, Joseph Goebbels, and Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel lean over the borders of the countries they have already conquered. The Führer confidently sweeps his hand across the Atlantic Ocean. The Americans are weak. They are an ocean away. Our U-boats will starve them before a single Yankee boot touches European soil. It is the greatest triumph of the Third Reich. Giant red flags with the black swastika wave majestically on every government building in Berlin. No one in the city, no human being on earth can even for a second imagine that this sunny day will be the last day of their invincible empire. Because history has already cracked. Space and time are about to be torn apart. November 14th, 2026. The sky over the Nevada Test and Training Range. A massive airborne forces exercise is underway. At an altitude of 30,000 feet, a tight formation of heavy C-17 Globemaster III military transport aircraft flies steadily. Inside one of the cargo bays, a tense twilight reigns. Only the red jump lights glow, illuminating grim faces. A company of elite U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment is preparing for a massive airdrop. 150 highly trained operators. 12 state-of-the-art M1126 Stryker infantry carrier vehicles sit in the cargo bay. They are securely rigged on heavy drop parachute systems, ready to fall from the heavens. Command Commander, Captain Alex Miller, silently checks his gear. His men are equipped with the absolute bleeding edge of military technology. Miller looks at the digital watch on his wrist. Exactly 2 minutes to the drop zone. A piercing readiness siren howls. The rear ramp of the heavy aircraft begins to lower slowly. Below, there should be the familiar desert landscape of Nevada. But what happens in the next few seconds defies all human logic. The air beyond the aircraft's ramp suddenly begins to warp catastrophically. It looks as if space itself is cracking, like a car windshield after a heavy impact. The C-17 pilots scream and panic over the intercom about a complete loss of flight controls and the failure of all onboard navigation. The massive plane begins to shake with violent force. The metal groans pitifully. And at this most unpredictable moment, the automated cargo release system somehow triggers. Powerful extraction parachutes violently pull the heavy 19-ton Stryker combat vehicles straight into this sparking, roaring anomaly. The armored machines fall into the glowing abyss, one after another. Following them, obeying ironclad orders, instinct, and years of grueling training, the Rangers fearlessly step into the absolute void. The C-17, relieved of its heavy cargo, struggles to level out and banks sharply away. But Captain Miller's Ranger Company is flying through time itself. They are spun mercilessly in absolute darkness, where there is no up or down. Berlin, December 11th, 1941, 12:15 p.m. Berliners stroll carelessly along the manicured paths of the Tiergarten Park. The weather is perfectly peaceful. Officers in crisp uniforms walk with ladies. And suddenly, the clear sky over the very center of the Third Reich's capital darkens. The air tears open with a deafening roar, like a thunderclap, but thousands of times stronger and more piercing. From nowhere, right out of thin air, at an altitude of just 3,000 feet, giant parachute canopies appear, dozens of them, then hundreds. But the most terrifying thing for the observers below is not the men. The Germans look up in primal horror and see that descending on these massive multi-dome systems are heavy armored vehicles, unseen, angular predatory monsters with remote weapon stations falling right onto the center of Berlin, blocking out the sun. Panic erupts instantly. Women scream and cover their faces. Gestapo officers senselessly reach for the holsters of their light pistols. The heavy Strykers land with a thunderous crash right on the green lawns of the Tiergarten. The parachute systems detach automatically. The Rangers land seconds later. They roll professionally, instantly shed their harnesses, and form a tight 360-degree perimeter defense around their vehicles. 150 heavily armed operators, 12 machines, in the very heart of the enemy empire. Captain Miller lands hard at the base of the famous victory column. He instantly raises his customized M4A1 rifle, warily scanning his sector through the holographic sight. "All Victor elements, immediate status report, comms check," he shouts into his headset. The airwaves are filled with dead analog static and short reports from his platoon leaders on the localized tactical network. No answer from base. GPS is dead. Communication satellites simply do not exist in the sky. Miller slowly looks around. People in completely old-fashioned clothes are running in panic. Women in strange 1940s dresses, men in fedoras and wide lapel suits. But the main thing that catches the eye are the monumental buildings. In the distance, the Brandenburg Gate is clearly visible. On every street pole, on every balcony, hang huge blood-red banners with a black swastika. His executive officer, First Lieutenant Vance, runs up to Miller, his eyes wide with shock. "Captain, this isn't Nevada. And that?" Vance points at the pursed flags. "This is Berlin, but it's clearly not our time. Look at their cars." An antique black Mercedes-Benz screeches its tires down the street, and Wehrmacht officers in gray uniforms leap out in panic. Miller pulls out his tactical tablet and turns on the autonomous radio frequency analyzer. The airwaves are absolutely clean of digital signals, only analog static and snappy German speech on short waves. The stations are broadcasting marches and enthusiastic news about the invasion of Russia. On the tablet screen, the analyzer decrypts the signal date, December 11th, 1941. The dead silence on the company's local radio net lasts for exactly 10 seconds. The monstrous realization of where they have ended up and what time they have fallen into crashes down with full weight on every soldier. They are in 1941, days after Pearl Harbor, in the city where just hours ago the order was given to declare war on their nation, and they are exactly 1 mile away from the Reich Chancellery, where Adolf Hitler is sitting right now. Miller looks at his soldiers, moving his gaze from one face to another. There is not a drop of fear in their eyes. Boiling in their eyes is cold, calculating, absolute American fury. "Attention all Victor elements." Miller's voice sounds incredibly harsh and metallic over the secure digital comms. "We are in Berlin, winter 41. These bastards just declared war on our country. We have no comms with command. There will be no extraction and no reinforcements. We only have us." He raises his rifle. "The historical objective has drastically changed. We are not waiting for D-Day. We are not waiting for 45. We are ending this war today. Primary objective, the Reich Chancellery. Eliminate the High Command of the Third Reich. Mount up, move." The drivers instantly start the powerful Caterpillar turbo diesels. 12 heavy turbo diesels roar, tearing through the pristine silence of old Berlin. The crews jump into their seats. The Rangers expertly take up firing positions in the back of the Strykers. Let's briefly compare the military technologies of these two eras. What is an M1126 Stryker from the 21st century? It is 19 tons of high-tech metal and lethal electronics, a remote weapons station armed with a 50 caliber M2 machine gun or a 40mm Mk19 grenade launcher, thermal imagers, laser rangefinder, a digital target tracking system, ceramic composite armor. And what does the Berlin garrison have in 1941? Regular infantry armed with Mauser 98K bolt-action rifles, MP-40 submachine guns whose bullets won't pierce the Strykers' armor even at point-blank range, and light Panzer II tanks with armor just half an inch thick.
This is not a battle of equals. It is a technological slaughter, an 85-year gap in weapon development. It is like pitting a modern Gatling gun against medieval cavalry with spears and bows. The column of 12 Strykers bursts out of the ruined Tiergarten Park with a roar. The first combat engagement happens right at the famous Brandenburg Gate. The road is blocked by a hastily arrived company of the elite SS Guard Regiment, Grossdeutschland. About 200 hand-picked Wehrmacht soldiers, the elite of the Aryan nation. They look in bewilderment at the strange green vehicles. The German commander snatches a Luger from his holster, desperately waves his hand, and yells, "Fire! Fire at will!" Hundreds of bullets begin to furiously beat against the frontal armor of the Strykers, bouncing off harmlessly like small peas against a thick concrete wall. Not a single dent, not a single penetration. "Victor elements, suppressive fire, 50 cals, erase them," Miller commands calmly. The remote weapon stations of the modern combat vehicles instantly spring to action. Electronic stabilizers hold the targets perfectly steady, despite the rapid movement of the machines over the uneven cobblestones, and absolute hell begins. The 50 caliber machine guns and 40mm grenade launchers open a hurricane of fire. The sound of the shots resembles the deafening tearing of the fabric of space itself. The heavy armor-piercing rounds tear the stone columns of the Brandenburg Gate to fine dust, punching straight through the brick covers. The German elite soldiers simply vanish in massive clouds of thick concrete dust, blood, and bright fire. They are literally torn to pieces. No trench, no stone wall saves them from 21st century firepower. The firefight lasts exactly 40 seconds. Nothing remains of the pride of the German elite company, except the moans of the wounded and smoking, disfigured ruins. 10 minutes before this bloody massacre, the massive doors of Hitler's huge office in the Reich Chancellery burst open with a crash. A deathly pale, gasping adjutant runs inside. "Mein Führer, in the very center of the city, right in the Tiergarten, a massive enemy airborne force has just landed." Hitler freezes in place, his face turning purple. Hermann Göring drops a crystal glass of French champagne onto the carpet in shock. "Enemy airborne? The British? How did they get past our flawless air defenses?" The Führer screams furiously, spitting saliva. "Mein Führer, they are definitely not British. The surviving soldiers say they have strange flags, red, white, and blue, American flags. And they have strange, fast, unseen tanks. They wiped out our entire elite guard company at the Brandenburg Gate in 1 minute. They are moving straight here, to the Chancellery." Hitler falls into an uncontrollable rage. He slams his fist onto the oak table with all his might, scattering the maps. "This is absolutely impossible. The Americans don't have such tanks. Throw all reserves against them. Raise the Guard Tank Battalion. Raise the Luftwaffe. Destroy every last one of them." The panicked order spreads at lightning speed through all available communication channels. From the Berlin barracks, light Panzer II and Panzer III tanks from training units hastily roll out. About 40 machines with roaring engines head to intercept Captain Miller's rapid column. The German tankers are calm and confident. They have already conquered all of Europe.
but they do not yet know that they are driving straight toward their inevitable death. The historic Wilhelmstrasse, the street leading straight to the very heart of the Nazi regime. The 12 heavy Strykers threateningly line up in a wide wedge. Coming to meet them from around the corner, 40 boxy German tanks slowly emerge. The distance between the opponents is exactly 1 mile. Victor elements, anti-armor protocol, switch to javelin missiles, distance 1 mile, lock on, fire, Miller commands perfectly calmly, looking through his advanced digital thermal sight. The javelin missile teams on the roof of the Strykers acquire their targets. The heat-seeking missiles lock on. 12 powerful javelins launch simultaneously. The missiles fly in an ideal top-attack trajectory guided by computers. A direct hit from a modern javelin warhead on a light German tank from 1941 is an absolute, unconditional end. The thin armor of the Panzer III doesn't just fail to stop it. Under the monstrous pressure and heat, the entire tank is crushed inward like a tin can. A second later, 12 frontline German tanks turn into massive fireballs. The German drivers, in blind panic, slam on the brakes, desperately trying to turn around and escape. They fire back, but their weak shells fall far short of the American machines, tearing up the asphalt or bouncing pitifully off the sloped armor. A second volley of javelins rings out. Another 12 German machines burst into bright flames. The remaining crews jump out of their burning boxes in terror and immediately fall under the ruthless, withering fire of the Rangers' M4 assault rifles. The Führer's personal guard tank battalion ceases to exist in exactly 3 minutes of fierce combat. The Reich Chancellery is only 200 yards away. The monumental building is hastily surrounded by sandbag barricades. Hundreds of loyal SS men lay down continuous fire from MG-42 machine guns. Bullets tap against the armor of the advancing Strykers like heavy hail on a tin roof, causing no damage to the crews. The Rangers quickly dismount from the armor, professionally spreading out into cover. A ruthless assault begins according to all the rules of modern tactical urban combat. Thermal imagers on their rifles allow the American operators to clearly see the hiding Germans through thick smoke, flying dust, and stone walls. Short, sparse bursts ring out. Every bullet inevitably finds its target. No random, faceless firing, only surgically precise, systemic elimination of the enemy. Underslung grenade launchers surgically drop 40mm grenades straight into the narrow loopholes of the hastily made pillboxes. Strykers, direct fire on the main entrance. Blow it open, Miller orders. The 50 cal machine guns shatter the barricades into splinters along with their screaming defenders. The Ranger assault teams rapidly burst inside the building. Thick smoke, acrid concrete dust, and the deafening roar of automatic fire are everywhere. Hitler's elite personal guard fanatically tries to offer resistance in the long, luxurious corridors covered with expensive red carpets. The luxurious corridors are cleared in a matter of minutes. The walls are covered in blood and bullet holes. Captain Miller and Lieutenant Vance, leading the assault team, kick open the heavy oak doors straight into the bunker with a powerful blow. Inside Hitler's personal office, an absolute, dead, ringing silence reigns. The Führer of the Third Reich is cowering behind his massive desk. His hands shake nervously. Next to him stand Goebbels and Keitel, pale as chalk. They look with a mixed feeling of horror and incomprehension at the tall, heavily armed soldiers in strange digital camouflage uniforms. On their shoulders are the patches of the 75th Ranger Regiment and the American flag. "Who are you?" Hitler croaks in German, absolutely unable to tear his terrified gaze away from the bright red beam of the laser sight that is currently resting right on his forehead. Captain Miller slowly, menacingly lowers his weapon slightly. He looks straight into the eyes of the man who just hours ago planned to drag the United States into a world war. Miller looks at his tactical watch. December 11th, 1941, 1 p.m.
"We're the guys from the country you just declared war on, Adolf," Miller says in cold English, knowing the translator won't be needed. "We came from a future where you lost. We're just speeding up the clock." He smoothly raises his M4 rifle. A very short, suppressed burst rings out. Hitler falls dead onto his desk. Goebbels screams hysterically in animal horror. Another short burst rings out. It is all over. The leadership of Nazi Germany has been completely wiped out on the very day they declared war on America. Miller presses the push-to-talk on his radio. "All Victor actuals. Primary targets successfully liquidated. Reich Chancellery Building is under full control. Establish a hard 360-degree perimeter and hold." What happened in the world next? The unbelievable news of the sudden death of Adolf Hitler and the entire High Command instantly paralyzed the massive German army. The great blitzkrieg stopped before it could gather its full strength against the Allies. Generals on the Eastern Front, cut off from the Berlin center and shocked by the unthinkable news from the capital, hesitantly halted their tank wedges. Absolute chaos, panic, and a vicious struggle for power began inside the Reich. The Wehrmacht was completely demoralized and disorganized. The Allied powers unexpectedly gained that most precious time, long months to regroup their forces and prepare a crushing counteroffensive before the Holocaust could reach its peak. And exactly 150 U.S. Rangers and 12 combat vehicles remained forever in the ruined center of Berlin. They quickly became a true global legend, a myth. The ghosts from the future who voluntarily sacrificed their only chance to return home to their own time to save millions of lives. Someday their ammunition would inevitably run out. The diesel in the tanks would be gone, but they had completed their main mission with honor. They had forever rewritten world history. Would you be in their place? Write in the comments what modern equipment you would send to key moments in the past. Subscribe to the channel. The Tactical Time Rift has only just opened. See you in the next drop.